the lottery. I don't know.
It's just 2 years.
It would stress me out. I don't.
So you're unhappy that I'm putting you in a position where you have a moral obligation to do something that you don't want to do?
Yeah.
She's afraid of brain rot in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
All right, Ken.
Well, also, like, politics is it's like a career field, and in the U.S. a lot of Americans. So I think if you change it to like a lottery,
Still get paid.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't have as many. You wouldn't have like the things that are associated with it, like the campaigning and like the campaign advisors, things like that.
Sure.
Also,
Yeah.
So that would like.
Do you think it'd be detrimental to the economy not to have it at all?
Well, it wouldn't be better for the economy, I would think.
They probably have
No
to
commercials.
to advise these people.
Networks would go under.
When you kill an industry like coal mining or something, there's some people who are making money off it or feeding the family from it, and that's short-term problem and bad for them, but better for the world. So I think of this as like that, the end of coal mining, right? But do you have to have officials run the lottery? I don't know, probably not enough.
Yeah, I was just going to say, not to go backwards, but given some of these systematic flaws, could you essentially say the candidate is kind of chosen in advance? Do you get what I'm trying?
No.
Like, it's kind of, our president is like already kind of chosen, given some of these flaws?
The current system?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I don't know. Who's been chosen?
I don't know.
For the, like, is it Hillary or is it Trump? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, well.
So I was asking.
Trump's
Since they
not dead yet, so.
They haven't been chosen, right? If we don't know who it's going to be. I mean, I suppose you could say that there's some inexorable process unfolding that we're unaware of what its result is going to be, but it's all in some way fixed or predetermined or something. You know, I mean, and it seems like even if it's not fixed ahead of time whether Hillary will beat Trump or not, you know, it'd be hard not to look at the Democratic primary process and not think that, you know, you can sort of see it coming, right? But the way it worked. Now, part of the way it worked was that she had a lot of supporters, maybe more than he did, right? But she also had, you know, a political organization more or less behind her that seemed like it was supposed to be a neutral one, more money at her disposal. So yeah, I can see your point about that. Kate?
This is going to sound weird, and I don't want anybody to attack me for saying this. This is just a view. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Don't try to refute me on this. It's just a view. But couldn't you say something like, it's possible, I'm not saying it is, but it's possible that, like, the government has voting for people, and they already have, like, the person in mind that they're going to elect, and they let us vote because it makes us feel better. Like, oh, I got to say something even if my candidate didn't win. And so technically, like, if that was a thing, it wouldn't matter what kind of system we had because the government would already choose the official. And I mean, you could even have like, oh, well, I voted and I had my say or I didn't, but kind of doesn't matter anyway. Just throwing another.
There are probably places where that's pretty much the way it works, right? Where there's a fix, and there's not a free press, and there's elections, and so not everyone knows that it's fixed, and people have the illusion of choosing their.
An illusion. They put everything up on the TV and the debates, and you agree with it because you're trained to agree with it.
Yeah,
But the same thing could happen with the lottery selection too, right?
Yeah, no, I'm saying
Those
that.
little bouncing balls,
Yeah.
you know.
It could be.
delegates.
They all say Trump on them.
I'm just saying.
Isn't that kind of just like Plato's parable of the cave, essentially?
That there's a big divide between the way the reality is and how we experience it to be, something like that.
Yeah.
Logically possible. Throwing that out there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the government you might not know about, and what if, like, no matter what system you had, it wouldn't matter because it was already decided.
So what do we do?
Nothing. Just accept it. Just accept it.
So even under that, you can vote to make yourself feel good.
Yeah, so maybe good. Maybe voting's better. I was like that because
You might as well
we should
feel
good.
Let you guys know what's going on.
So would there still be an impeachment kind of process for people, like, if someone crazy? is
I suppose, right? I mean,
Like-
you know, people who commit crimes and things could still be removed. Obviously, there probably could be some kind of tinkering with the process, right? And I mean, the way the Senate works, where seniority determines, and your party membership determines what committee you're placed on, and you know, whether you're the chair of the committee. If you, just like if you got term limits, and you know, nobody could be in office more than one term, that would upend that system. If you make parties have no effect on the outcome, at least they aren't campaigning, because there is no campaigning, that'll change it. So, you know, you might have to make a lot of other changes to the system to
I mean, I feel
make
like
this work.
you need a lot more checks and balances. 'Cause if someone crazy, I hesitate to use Hitler as an example because he was elected by people.
Yeah.
But like someone that just wants to see the world burn, they only have to be there one day, and no one's like sitting by the nuclear codes, just like
Yeah.
make it blow. One day, right? So you
Yeah, I
have
don't
to
know.
have
Is it-
someone to like
you know,
protect like
If
all
the president
doors.
has a bad day, right, and just you know, decides, you know what, I want to end it all. You know, and I don't mean just me. Do they? Can they just get? Like, can they just launch nuclear weapons somehow? I don't think
There is
they
some-
can.
Yeah, no, with the missile launch silos we have in like North Dakota and all, they have to send them the code, and then the two people that are agree to do it, they have these keys they have to turn simultaneously, and both agree to do it. And if they decide no, we're not turning the key at the same time, the missiles don't blow, at least for the silos.
The
And the same
Pentagon
thing-
people, you know, just.
It isn't like he presses a button and then they all go off. No,
Yeah, no, I
it
understand
releases
that.
the stuff, and then the soldiers all have to agree, we're going to launch these. And if the soldiers say, no, the guy's an idiot and I'm not going to end the world. Then
Yeah.
Now, maybe it would result in the president losing power, right?
Yeah,
Because
okay.
right now, if Obama decides to send some troops somewhere, he can do it, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, if just some random person is the president, right? And this person says, okay, troops are going to go to wherever, the Pentagon might say, I don't think so.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
not gonna do that.
That would be a
And,
disaster. I mean, that sort of thing would be a disaster. That would be the end of civilian control of the military. If that's going to be one outcome of this, this would be a very good.
Yeah, it's a concern.
Yeah.
Right, because a lot of the president's power is sort of because people recognize the president as having power, right? Presidents can send troops somewhere without a declaration of war. The Senate's power is maybe more clearly defined by law, right? They can pass laws and things. Presidents can do things that are sort of, I don't know, outside of the law, you know, in a way, executive orders and things, right? And the fact that we put up with it is because we just accord the president a certain amount of power. Maybe we wouldn't, right? But also a lot of people think these things are bad, that presidents can start wars without Congress. Maybe it would be, in some ways, good if presidents had their power more checked than it is.
In the
By
case
other
of
random
war, since modern wars move so fast, I think it would be bad if the president had to wait for Congress's approval. We'd be defeated before they got around to doing anything.
Where wars move more faster now?
Oh yeah, the missiles go faster all the time.
Okay, well the missiles, okay, I thought you meant like the wars take a long time.
Oh, those slow conventional wars.
Okay.
But I mean a real war where we used our best weapons. It'd be over in a day probably, or less.
So if, you know, some Joe Schmo is selected president by a lottery, would the Russians say, is this really what they're doing? Let's, like, blow them up and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because this guy's going to want to press the button, or he won't, and they won't know what to do, and they'll be, you know, vaporized, and we'll win. It's a big risk to take.
Bush tried the shock and awe in Iraq, and it had all these fast-moving bombs and missiles, but that went on and on and on.
Those are all
and
conventional
on.
weapons,
Right.
so-
So it doesn't end unless
Yeah,
you're talking about
nuclear
nuclear, the complete blowout.
Shock and awe became law shucks.
Yeah, those were still all conventional bombs, though. Suppose he had dropped a couple of nuclear bombs on them, how long do you think it would have taken? 10 years?
No, I think then the Russians would have dropped a few here. I mean, yeah, it would have been over quickly, that's for sure.
Michael.
I want to know the morality of voting for someone just so the other person doesn't win. Because I feel like that's a lot of what people are doing right now. They're voting for Hillary because they don't want Trump, and vice versa. Is that right? Or do we actually have a decision if we're voting for someone that we don't want to be in?
Yeah, I can certainly see it. There's something like that. I think can be immoral. Like if you're voting, I don't know. Suppose that you're a judge at the Olympics, and the gymnasts are doing their thing, right? And suppose that you think that Allie Reisman was a little bit better than Simone Biles or something. But you think that the other voters are erroneously going to give Biles a much higher score. And so you give her a real low score to make her come out behind or something like that, right? And it's not in line with what you really think she got, but you sort of give a strategic low score. Give her a low score so she will lose, which you think she should, that she was genuinely not as good as somebody else, right? That seems wrong. It seems like what you should do is give them both the score that you think they earned, and not try to counteract somebody else's vote, right? I'm not so sure about these cases though, where you don't like Hillary, but you fear Trump, and so you vote for Hillary because if anyone beats Trump, it's going to be her. Is that wrong? I don't know. I don't see why that's wrong, but I'd be interested to hear an argument for the immorality of that kind of calculation in voting.
I guess in a way you still want her. You still want her, it's just for a different reason than usual.
Like your rebound date?
But she's an instrumental good instead of an intrinsic good or something, maybe? You don't want her for her own sake, but for the fact that she's not
Yeah. I mean, you still
the other guy.
Like that's still not a decision. That's really.
It's just not a great
Since your vote doesn't count anyway, what does it matter?
Yeah, you can't throw
I mean,
away.
if that's the
your
case, if your vote doesn't count, and you vote for the other person just so the other person wins, I mean, it doesn't make sense either. It's just a huge contradiction.
According to John, you can't throw away your vote.
I guess one reason to not do that kind of calculated voting is it won't make any difference, right? That's how you get to the expressive idea is you should vote for who you like, right? Of course then, who you like might be, I don't like me, right? So, I mean, if I'm a libertarian, I might think, hey, Gary Johnson guy's okay, but why should I vote for him instead of me or my friend Bob, right? Just because Bob's not on the ballot, I could write him in. Gary Johnson's got 10% of the support, right? But so what, right? We've already established that having a certain amount of support, like 40 or 45%, Hillary or Trump has, isn't enough to make, you should, have to vote for one of them.
Well, Mickey Mouse gets voted every time.
Yeah.
What?
Mickey Mouse.
On the ballot?
Yeah, you can write in Mickey Mouse, and people do all the time.
You should change your name.
You
You might win.
Higher percentage anyway.
It wasn't said that if you act in a way that's against your principles, you're being immoral. And if your principles would be not to vote for Hillary or not to vote for Trump, then you could say that's immoral. But the practicality of this is that one of these people is going to be president. That's it. Now, personally, I'm more than happy to commit this small immoral act, even if which by the way, it's not, I don't feel so strongly against Hillary as a lot of people do. She's got problems. But even if I did feel very strongly against one, let's forget the particulars, one candidate, but even horrendously more strongly against the other, and I knew one or the other is going to hold the office, well, I'm going to pick the lesser of, if you will, two evils.
So practically speaking, you kind of have to throw out your morals just for that.
Well, yeah, and it's not.
Is it throwing out your morals?
I was. That was just giving that. You know, insofar as, you know, morally, I don't think she would be or he would be a great president, but I'm going to vote for him because I think the other one's going to be worse. I've done worse. If that is immoral, I've done worse.
What if you can't decide which one's more evil?
Then don't vote, I guess.
Well, I don't think it's a question which is more evil. It's really a question of, I wasn't thinking one's more evil than the other. I think the question is who's more qualified? Who's less?
Evil might be part of
Who's
it.
less?
Yeah.
Huh?
Evil might be part of it.
Evil might be part of it, but yeah.
Or you can't decide who's more dangerous, the evil or the stupid.
Well, I don't know about that dichotomy, but
Yeah, who's who?
yeah. We couldn't advance this without getting into a lot of particulars.
I'm probably backtracking. I came in late. I'm sorry. I had another meeting for the club. But it's like a combination of the first reason and the sixth reason as to why you shouldn't vote.
Yeah.
To vote, I guess, to object against it. Your vote individually does not put your candidate over the top, but your collective vote does, because the electoral board.
I don't have a collective vote.
You personally don't have a collective vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but the collective vote of everyone voting, is this, I need to ask this question first then. Is the telling a person not to vote individual or?
Well, what I was saying first of all is that given that we have elections, there's going to be an election this November,
Right.
don't vote. You, right?
Me specific.
And secondly, as a society, we should not have elections to pick our representatives. We should pick them by lottery.
Well, then I guess I could go more so for the second one, because if you don't have an election, it undermines the concept of democracy. But I understand.
No, because democracy is rule of the people. It's not voting. It's rule of the people. And so if you select, if it's not rule of the rich people, or rule of the PhDs, or rule of the military, or what, in some segment, right? If it's the people, and in fact, this is more democratic, because you're going to get a more representative set of representatives, right? You're going to have more minorities and gay people and women and disabled people and atheists and everything, right? So it's still democracy. Right? It's hard. We entwine the notions of democracy and voting with each other, but they're separable, right? Demo is people, and crassy is rule, right? So how do the people get to be in a position of ruling, right? You need, so that's it. Okay, sorry I broke in there for a second.
Oh, no,
all right.
Structuring it that way, yes, because of that does make sense. Because it's the rule of the people specifically. It doesn't specify what person, what delegation, how we get to that matter, how we do any of it. So me basing my concept of democracy has to, I guess, come from more of like a civics kind of standpoint, because the history of how we came to voting and election and the trying out of the different forms of democracy and different forms of leadership, not including democracy as an individual, but as, I guess, leadership in society. I guess the trial and error, but I don't know enough to expunge on that, so.
And it was, Nick's point was that even if the lottery system is, in a sense, democracy, the representatives will not reflect the will of the people, right? So if you see that as the key to democracy, that not just the people are represented and all of the people have an equal chance of holding political power and being part of the political process, but that it is their will that determines which people occupy those positions. Right? In that sense, it's less democratic. But I think in other ways, it's more democratic.
Right.
But the election doesn't represent the will of the people. It's the will of maybe the majority of the people as determined by the Electoral College, but there's still a good portion of the people whose will we now have ample evidence is not being implemented.
It's an
and not being
oblique
followed.
representation of the will of the people.
Yes, so,
Right, and the money warps the process of the people willing, and prejudices.
people not showing up to vote.
Right,
Because
and
they
the
listen to
grueling
philosophy lectures.
the grueling nature of the campaign season weeds out people.
I would say, suppose you have said, your argument is that you should, as an individual, should not vote. But you might argue that even though it's right for you not to vote, you shouldn't advocate publicly in large gatherings that people don't vote, because then you may get a lot of people not to vote, and that could make a real difference in the outcome.
Okay, but would it make a bad difference?
Well, some people say that when we have a large turnout, from my point of view, being Democrat, that when we have large turnout, Democrats are more likely to win, and your speech would dampen the vote, making it more likely the Republicans would win.
I am speaking at a university, which tends to skew more liberal than conservative, and so this could be, if I did a speaking tour at universities as opposed to a speaking tour at Baptist churches, right? It might have a different effect, assuming anyone cared what I said, took my advice, right? It was a stretch. Yeah, you're right. It's one thing to decide not to do it yourself, or to advocate for a radical change in the political process. But another thing, if you have a megaphone and you convince a whole lot of people not to vote while still the same basic process of selecting representatives is in place, right? Then you could possibly influence the outcome, and maybe in a way that's negative. It's like in registering voters. A lot of voters can influence the process, in a positive or negative way.
But I think who the actual benefactors of less people voting is in a way irrelevant to the point that was raised in the back there. When you say the reasons you give don't apply to why Ken Ferguson shouldn't vote, they don't apply to why Nick Georgialis shouldn't vote. You're giving general reasons. And insofar as they're good reasons, you're in effect arguing nobody should bother voting, right? And then that undermines the expression and the other reasons. But it is a rather, it's more than just the guy who waters his lawn.